that. Mouse, if you could hit OK for me, that would be great. I want you to write down two words. The first word is learned helplessness. Learned helplessness. And the second word I want you to write down is explanatory style. EXPLANATORY style. Explanatory style. So learn helplessness, learn helplessness, and explanatory style. Now I'm speaking to you today from Sean Akers' book, The Happiness Advantage. And for anybody that has the book, I'm going to be on pages 122 to 124. And if you don't have the book, please take notes and buy the book so that when you do get it, you're able to go to those pages and write your notes in the pages from today's conversation. Now, before I share a story with you, I want to ask you a question. And here's the question, and I wrote it down because it's kind of long. What would happen if one of the largest insurance companies in the world changed their hiring process? They ignored test scores based on intelligence and instead hired solely on optimism. I'm going to read it one more time because I know some of you are writing it down. This time, quick. I'm going to read it quicker. And if you don't get it, this is recorded, so watch the recording. What would happen if one of the largest insurance companies in the world changed their hiring process? They ignored test scores based on intelligence and instead hired solely based on optimism. Now, before I share what happened, because this is a true life story, I want to share some information with you right from the Happiness Advantage. Most professionals face daily setbacks. No kidding. But the life of a salesperson is almost by definition fraught with failure and rejection. Now, Anna, come on in, it's okay. You could change the word salesperson, cross that out and write real estate agent. The life of a real estate agent is almost by definition fraught with failure and rejection. Okay, back to salesperson. In many businesses, only 1 in 10 pitches leads to a sale, meaning that those salespeople experience rejection 90% of the time. This can get pretty demoralizing after a while, which helps to explain why there is such a high turnover among life insurance salespeople. Matter of fact, in the 1980s, it had gotten so bad that half the new salespeople for MetLife were getting out of the business within 1 year. And only 1 in 5 remained by the 4th year. Okay, now remember the question that I asked you earlier. So MetLife hired this guy by the name of Martin Seligman, Seligman. And he did studies on learned helplessness in order to explore how people bounce back from all kinds of adversity. Seligman had noticed that while most research subjects would indeed start to feel distressed and helpless after facing setback after setback, a consistent minority seemed immune to setbacks. Does that sound anything like rejection?
Yes.
Does it?
Mm-hmm.
Is this sounding anything like what I've been talking to you guys about for the past 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Ignore no. No is not a word that lives in my vocabulary. No simply means not yet. People will not make a new decision. They will not change their mind, but they'll make a new decision based on new information. Is it sounding like maybe the same things I've been talking to you about for the last 2 years?
Yes,
So yes, please.
Yes.
Okay. A consistent minority seemed immune. No matter what difficulty they faced, they always bounced right back. He soon discovered that they all shared a positive way of interpreting adversity. How do I interpret adversity? Good question. Or what the research termed an optimistic explanatory style. So optimistic explanatory style, please write that down. Decades of subsequent study have since shown that explanatory style, how we choose to explain the nature of past events, explanatory style, how we choose to explain the nature of past events has a crucial impact on our happiness and future success. People with an optimistic explanatory style interpret adversity as being local and temporary, as in it's not that bad and it'll get better. While those with a pessimistic, we have optimistic explanatory style versus pessimistic explanatory style. Those with a pessimistic explanatory style see these events as more global and permanent, as in it's really bad and it's never going to change. Like the movie, As Good as It Gets. This is it. It doesn't get any better. Their beliefs then directly affect their actions. The ones who believe the latter statement sink into helplessness and stop trying, while the ones who believe the former are spurred on to higher performance. Virtually all avenues of success we now know are directed by explanatory style, how we interpret the world. So, Seligman was brought on to help solve the problems the salespeople were having at MetLife. One of the first things he looked at was their explanatory style. And indeed, testing revealed that the agents with more optimistic styles sold 37% more insurance than those with pessimistic ones. And that the most optimistic agents, the ones who scored at the highest level of optimistic explanatory style, sold 88% more than the pessimistic ones. This was the answer MetLife was looking for. It was, aha, we discovered the answer. Remember, they have a problem. They're losing up to 50% of new employees within 1 year, and only 1 in 5 make it 4 years. And aha, we found a solution. They decided to hire a special force of agents picked solely on the basis of explanatory style, and it paid off. The next year, these agents outsold their more pessimistic counterparts by 21%, during the second year by 57%. Aware it had struck gold, MetLife decided to completely overhaul its hiring practices from that day on. If would-be agents failed the regular industry test, in other words, the test that scored intelligence, if they failed that test but scored well in an evolution of explanatory style, MetLife hired them anyway. And if they passed the industry test, high in intelligence, but had a low score on explanatory style, boy, I love these complicated words, the company rejected them. No matter how smart they seemed, the results within only a few years, MetLife turnover had plummeted, while its market share had increased by almost 50%. Here's the point. MetLife turned around their business simply hiring based on optimism, how we see the world, what we expect to happen, how we interpret events, versus a pessimistic view of how we see the world, how we interpret events, and it changed the company. Now, why do you think I'm sharing this with you? Raise your hand. Clarissa.
You asked us a question yesterday about if you have a problem, how do you find a solution? Was that yesterday? My days are blending together.
They blend for me.
I don't remember. I'm with you, blended.
Yeah,
But you did ask a question.
every
This
day for
week?
me is today, by the way, so.
Okay,
Good.
okay, that works. So today you asked the question, if you have a problem, what's the solution? Do you remember that? Or am
I do.
making that up?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're just giving us a possible answer.
Okay, am I giving you a real life example of a major corporation that not only discovered this, but they changed the face of that corporation forever
Mhm.
by doing one simple thing.
Yeah.
Hiring optimistic people.
Yes.
Which is what he says.
Juanita,
Yes. Well, what I get out of that is what you said, that they changed the corporation by hiring optimistic people and attributing that to us as agents. If we take that
Mindset.
mindset, we can excel as well.
yeah. So interpret a for sale by owner preview. And the seller is not motivated, they're unrealistic, they're asking way too much money for their home. They're not willing to pay more than 2% to the agent who brings a buyer. I'm never listing my home. Now you're coming back to me as your coach and you're saying, John, I had an appointment with a for sale by owner. And this was my experience. You have one agent who views it with a pessimistic view. I knew before the call was over, I was going to say pessimistic. Make sure you tell Monica, she likes to make fun of me with that one. One of them has a pessimistic view, the other one has an optimistic view. Who's going to follow up longer?
Optimistic
Optimistic.
view.
The one with the optimistic view. Who's never going to give up? The one with the optimistic view. So many years ago, I don't know if this is a true story or if this is just a story that trainers like to use. They sent two salespeople to some remote part of Africa. They were shoe salespeople. They sold shoes. Okay. Now, one of them reported back, cancel the orders, don't send any shoes. These people don't wear shoes. The other one reported back, send all you've got. There's a ton of opportunity here. Nobody has shoes.
Right.
Right.
What was the difference?
Their perspective.
How they viewed the circumstance, how they viewed life.
Mhm.
One saw opportunity, one was looking to get on the plane and come home.
Yep. Yep.
Now, we can look at a real estate market that has 50,000 plus agents, not exaggerating today. And there are actually more real estate agents in the country than there are people selling their homes. Fact. And we can look at that and view that as lack of opportunity. The market is oversaturated. There's too much competition. Or I can view that as the more competitive it gets, the better for me. Because the more competitive it gets, the more it becomes a skill-based market. And I'm the one with the skill. I win. I want the market to shift. Not because I want values of homes to go down, not because I want real estate agents to get out of the business. I want the market to shift because that's when it becomes a skill-based market versus an order-taking market. You know that saying, all ships rise and fall with the tide? It's BS. They don't. If that was true, every real estate agent would sell more homes as the market got better. They would sell 10% more than they did the year before. Every one of them, their business would go up by 10%. And we know that's not true, right? If that was true, when the tide falls, everybody's sales would fall. And in falling markets, are there real estate agents who are actually selling more homes than they did when the market was good? Say yes.
Yes.
All ships rise and fall, completely BS. You determine where your ship is, not the market. All right. Give me a couple more ahas. Tell me one thing you took out of this that you're going to do different. If you could do one thing different based on the conversation we had, what would that one thing be? Looking for somebody new.
Can you repeat that real quick? I'm sorry, it broke up.
Yep, you got it, James. Tell me what you took out of this conversation. If you took one thing away from the conversation that's going to change the way you think, change what you do, or if you were going to change one thing, what would that one thing be?
Think with a positive attitude.
Think with a positive attitude. I like that. Thank you, Pierre. Well, always.
Yeah, and one thing I would say that I take away is definitely in this market, everybody's saying, oh, it's so hard to work with buyers. Don't do it. Buyers, it takes too much energy out of you. I changed my mindset around that, and I was able to, by the grace of God, get 2 of my clients under contract in the past month that were obviously, you know, in this very competitive market. And I just went in with a positive mind, and I spoke my truth to the listing agent and figured out what the sellers wanted. And we were able to come to a, meet in level grounds. So it's definitely changed your mindset, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. I know we hear it a million times.
Yeah, there you go. Henry Ford said it, whether you think you can or think you can't, either way, you're right. And James, I'm so proud of you. Thank you. Larry, your hand is up. Talk to us.
He really captured it. We were talking to another KW agent, a real good friend of Raina's, who's in our office, and we're trying to turn her a little bit more on to y'all. She just has the worst mindset, and we're just, Raina tries to help everybody in the world, unfortunately or fortunately, it's tough. I mean, she is like, I'm running out of money, I'm this, I'm that, and her husband doesn't help her much. I said,